Hi everyone. So today I have a series of extraction videos for you. The snakes you will see in these videos are Trimerecerus purpureo maculatus. That is the mangrove pit viper. As their names might suggest, they are pit vipers found in mangroves. Specifically, you're looking at Southeast Asia. So that's Singapore, that's Thailand, that's even actually parts of Eastern India as well, and a few other islands in the area. But mainly these guys are found on shores in mangroves, and they are arboreal, so spending a lot of times up in those trees. And so they have this amazing body that helps them live in those very tree areas. So what you're seeing here is what we call tubing. That's basically moving the snake through the tube. This is to help both control the snake so we can pin them, but also protect them from themselves, basically. If they were to get too nervous, they can actually thrash and hurt themselves, which snakes are nervous animals, so that's not too unlikely. But the reason we're doing this is to help extract venom. We want to extract venom from these snakes to help do tons of different things. Mainly it's going towards different types of medicine and drug productions. These ones in particular are actually going towards the production of potentially an anti-venom. That's not our main focus for different extractions, but it does exist. Here you see a really good example of this snake doing an arboreal snake thing, which is that it's hooking its tail and wrapping really tightly around that branch. It actually pulled the branch out. When we took it out of its enclosure, it pulled the branch out onto the extraction mat. Their tails are incredibly strong, and they work kind of like an anchor to help hold them onto things. So you'll see it repeatedly twist and grab and wrap around stuff because it doesn't want to be removed from that branch. It likes that branch. It's very comfortable there. So they'll use those tails in a lot of different ways. That helps them in nature as well. If you imagine that they're living up in trees and say a strong wind blows through, or just there's a lot of movement because of weather, that helps them hold themselves in spot. It also helps protect them from predators as well. If predators try to pull them out of a tree, if they can quickly grab onto a branch or move themselves around, that's useful. And also importantly, it helps them with hunting. They need a really strong anchor for when they are striking. These snakes have an amazing strike range, a lot longer than most people expect them to have. So if they are firmly gripped onto a branch and they strike forward, they don't want to fall off. I think that's fair. So these guys are largely ambush predators, and they're waiting on their food to come to them. They're eating all sorts of things, from lizards to small mammals to even birds occasionally. And so you can imagine that they need to be able to strike from a lot of different angles and keep themselves up in the trees. So here you can even see that tail kind of moving around, trying to find purchase. And I promise you, if there was something in the extraction area for him to grab onto, he would. So here you can see what it looks like when we're trying to remove them from their enclosures. Being arboreal snakes, we give them a lot of stuff to climb on. It makes them feel comfortable, but it can be difficult to pull them from that housing because they really like it. So here you see the snake on the mat, and there's a little bit of processing going on where the snake's trying to figure out what's happening around him. He can see the guests through the glass, so they're aware of that. They can see Jim and Kristen with the hook. Actually, I believe this is Kristen in this case. They can see Kristen with the hook as she's trying to move it through. And so the snake's trying to make a decision of, what do I do? How do I avoid being eaten in this situation? That's not too uncommon to be going through a snake's mind, not that we can read snakes' minds. So if you watch that tail, once again, you'll see it doing some really cool stuff where it's trying to brace its tail on the glass. It's actually searching around while also keeping its front pointing towards Kristen, just in case it needs to defend itself. So it's doing two things at once. And that's something that would help it survive if there was a predator in the wild. I mentioned this process here is called tubing. This is not something we use for every snake, but we do use it depending on the species. In this case, it's helpful, but it does mean you have to deal with an animal who might not want to go in the tube right away. Usually they see that tube as kind of a dark, secure place they can run away into. This particular individual is not wanting to do that, and that is okay. Individual snakes do act differently, and we're getting an example of that. One more interesting thing about the tail, and then I'll stop talking about the tail, I promise, is you can see that tail is actually moving around a lot. It almost looks like it's rattling. So that tail shaking behavior is something we see in lots of snakes, not just rattlesnakes we have here in the United States, but in a really large group of snakes, will do that tail rattling. That is a defensive behavior, of a way of saying, hey, I'm here. It's the reason to communicate. If you imagine that tail is hitting against either like a tree or on leaves or really anything else, that really, really quick vibration will make a lot of noise. And that can either intimidate a predator or alert a predator to the snake's presence, which actually might be something that could save the snake's life. So I mentioned the strike range of the snake, and it's something really special about keeping these particular animals and species that are similar to them, is that they do have a really incredible strike range because they can anchor themselves. So a large portion of that body can actually be used to strike. So you have to keep yourself farther back than you might expect for another snake species. What is a comfortable distance for something like a rattlesnake is not comfortable distance for arboreal tree viper like this. Tree pit viper. And now we see a different strategy to avoid a predator, which is to run. He's trying to escape upwards. So snakes will do all sorts of different things. They will grab onto stuff, they will rattle their tails, and really importantly, most snakes are going to try and run away from you. If all those things don't work though, that is when a bite might occur. So that's why you might notice that once Jim actually has the snake pinned, that's when the snake actually is making a biting motion. At that point, the snake has, in its mind, no other option. And so it will do what? Biting. So this venom that we're extracting is pretty interesting. It is actually very hemorrhagic. So if it were to be injected into an animal, what you would see is a lot of internal bleeding and destruction of blood vessels, as well as a lot of swelling would also occur in the venom. So things like that, which is bad for a person to experience, can actually be useful in different ways. So a lot of our other venoms that we are using for drug development are using the things that you might not think about as medicine.
Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more KRZ videos, and don't forget to hit the bell so you know when it's happening. Follow us on social media at KY Reptile Zoo for more scaly content. Lastly, come visit us in Slade, Kentucky, and check out our website at kyreptilezoo.com for merch and booking programs. See ya!